Hello, welcome back or welcome to my channel. It is Sunshine Lorena and this is going to be all the books that I read in September. So another month has went by and I read some more books. I say this like every month, but this year's gone so fast. Like September literally was over in a blink of an eye, and we now have 3 months left in the year. The bear months, which are my favourite ones, bear, September, months, bear, what would you say? Those months, anyway. Which they are my favourite. Love autumn vibes and Christmas, so best time of the year. So yes, I'm just gonna take you through all the books that I read in September. I read 7 in total, which is less than what I have been reading over the last few months. So I had a little bit of a slow reader month, but still read a lot, really enjoyed what I was reading and kind of had a little bit less pressure on myself in terms of reading. Before I get into the books that I actually read, I'm gonna just quickly, let you know which ones I didn't read from like my TBR, because I'm trying to hold myself accountable for these things, guys. So first of all, I did not even start 6 Crimson Cranes at all. I just didn't have enough time. I think I was over ambitious deciding to have so many physical books on my TBR. In the end, I ended up with 4 in my TBR video, and I've never attempted to read so much physical books in a month for quite a while, so it was a bit too much for me. I am definitely going to read this. I do like the sound of it and I do want to get to it at some point. It is, spoiler alert if you've not seen my October TBR, but it's not on there, maybe November, but it's one of my 23 and 23, so I do need to get this because I'm still behind on that. Trying to reach 80%, guys. I don't know if I'm going to be able to do it. And then the other one that I need to update you on is The Shadow of the Wind. Now you can see a bookmark here, guys. You would have seen on my channel, if you haven't seen, in September I did a cozy autumn read along and I started reading this. And guys, on page 3 I was like, this I'm pretty sure is gonna be 5 stars, and that like never happens. So I have this amazing opportunity of knowing that this is most likely going to be a 5 star, and I really hope it does end up being a 5 star. But this amazing opportunity to read slow, because normally I don't really know, I don't normally have those 5 star feels so early in. By the point I'm in the story, I'm like, oh, I think this could be 5 stars. It's at the point that I'm like, I really want to know what happens. So I never slow down, but I have this really amazing opportunity to actually read this slow. I've been taking my time not to rush through it, and my October TBR is really big. This isn't on it, but I'm going to be reading this in between, and I might be able to get this on the Spoopopifly rolls, we never know. But yes, I have this golden opportunity to actually read this slow. It is, yeah, by page 3 I'm like, this is going to be beautiful. I think it's going to be 5 stars, so that's why. This one's understandable, the other one I just didn't get to, but you know. Anyway, enough about the ones I did not actually read, didn't finish reading in the month, and let me actually get through the ones I did read. So the first one that I read in the month was Juniper Hill, and this is number 2 in the Eden series, and it's by Devney Perry. Now, you would have saw, if you've not seen on my channel, I have a reading the books that feel like Gilmore Girls vlog up on my channel. This and the next book I'll tell you about was the 2 books that I chose that gave elements of Gilmore Girl feels. Just a quick synopsis before I get into like my rating and how I felt, in case you didn't see that vlog. You can still go and see my in my moment thoughts as well. But we have Memphis, who is just moved to Montana for a job as a housekeeper, and her boss ends up securing her accommodation, which she is renting temporarily from Knox Eden, who is actually the sister of the manager of the hotel. Really confusing, all of that in one sentence. And she essentially forced him to rent to Memphis because they really need a housekeeper, and Memphis was struggling to find somewhere, so temporarily she's renting from Knox. These are our 2 main protagonists in this romance. Now this is a small town romance, and yeah, so Memphis, you don't know at the beginning, you don't know why, but she has left her life in New York, her and like her 2-month-old baby, and she's starting anew in this small town as a housekeeper, kind of given a little bit of vibes of kind of Lorelai if she was a little bit older, and you know, she had to drive completely to a completely different state, you know. Knox is given like grumpy sunshine grumpy vibes. There's a little bit of animosity between the 2, but yes, it's just, you know, building up to this romance between the 2, and that's kind of the synopsis. She is obviously very attracted to Knox, and he does start to come around to her as well, and it's the development of their relationship. I was really enjoying this. If you watch the vlog, you've seen I was really enjoying this for a good part of the way through. and then it just went downhill. I ended up giving it in the end like a 2.5, 2.5 stars, which I have not updated on my story graph. But anyway, ended up, yeah, because there was this situation that happened, you know, the usual, like towards the end, something happened, which obviously I'm not going to tell you. Something happened, but one, it completely came out of nowhere. So the issue with this book I found is that there was lots of like subplots going on, and one, they weren't all needed. Two, you never got like the full development of them, and this was the prime example of the situation that happened. It just seemed like it came out of nowhere and resolved all very quickly, and it was like, this should have been, one, built up to more, and two, should have lasted longer than it did. But yeah, it felt like it just came out of nowhere, and it just really annoyed me. Some of those subplots, they weren't needed. They kind of took away from our main kind of story, and the author, I feel like, missed a golden opportunity with that situation that happened. It could have been a much bigger part of the plot. The other thing I didn't like is Knox, like, okay, with romances, you know, things happen really quick in timelines, okay? Things do happen really quick. But what I find is that he was just a little bit too quick. This was like, went way too quick, too fast in terms of where his feelings was, what he was thinking. It was just a little bit too much. Having known her not very long, and essentially was just like, yeah, I'm gonna be a father to this woman's baby that I've known for like 2 weeks now. And it's just, yeah, it was a little bit too much. And that was kind of my issues with it. Started off really well and then just went downhill. I'm not going to say anything more on this one because it is my vlog. You can go check it out. The second one, which I read in that vlog, was Small Town Rumours by Carolyn Brown, and this was a Kindle Unlimited one. The other one was as well. I think I forgot to mention it. And I picked this one up because I thought it was going to give me kind of vibes, Star Hollow vibes, because it was very much giving in the synopsis a little bit of that kind of community vibe in it. But I'll go into the synopsis and then it'll all kind of start to make sense. So Jeannie Sue is our main character, and she ends up returning back to her hometown, like small town vibes again, hometown from New York. She ends up arriving on a bus. Now she ends up being spotted by someone in the town that she went to school with who doesn't like her, so that ends up being rumours being spread about that. But her mum arrives to pick her up because she called her, and immediately Emily Gilmore girl vibes, guys. I will get into this in my review, but Emily Gilmore vibes. She is shocked and horrified that her daughter would turn up on a bus, because they're like quite a big well-to-do family, and she's like, this is not the impression that we want people to have of us. So yeah, I mean, this kind of sets ablaze these rumours. She, you know, has returned back because her marriage has not worked out, but her mum is very much trying to hide that fact. But rumours are spreading because, you know, she's been spotted coming back on a bus. And she ends up taking a job as a housekeeper, and then she ends up moving into an apartment above a garage because she can't stand living with her mother with that attitude that she has. And yes, obviously rumours are ablaze in the town. There is a romance that is developed within this, and again, the person that she has this romantic connection with is not someone that her mother would approve for her family and their name. All sound a little bit familiar. Again, you can have Lorelai Luke vibes there, a little bit of Rory Gilmore vibes, returning back from, you know, being a big shot and actually life not apparently going the way that she wanted it to. So that's kind of the synopsis. I really liked this one. I ended up giving it 4 stars in the end. Really enjoyed it. It did give me those elements, and I was really surprised of how some of the twists and turns, but you do get those, you know, small town community vibes, how everyone kind of is helping out each other, and this just good town vibes. Like I said, the mum gives Emily Gilmore vibes. Like, who does not want that? I was just a little bit disappointed that we did not get more of that. Like, I wanted a little bit more of her mum in this. Like, I really wish there'd been a little bit more of that, but it was good. There is this romance that kind of buds with someone who it does start to bud, but what I did find is, even though romance is mentioned in the synopsis, it really isn't a huge part of this book. It is more about Jenny Sue, her growth, the friends, relationships that she makes along the way, those important key people within the town, and that kind of, again, that community that she builds. The romance is there, but it really isn't the main element of this book. But I was fine with that. Like, it is there, but I was fine that that was really not the focal point, because we get really good growth development. I just love the townies, and like I said, mom is like Emily Gilmore. There is something that happens in this, like obviously you get that like big like kind of twist within it, which I didn't expect. I did not expect. And I mean, I understand where the author went with to what happens in the book, but I feel like we didn't need to go that extreme, you know. But I did enjoy it, and that's it. I've said enough about it. I could keep talking about it, but I just love the vibes, and I'm going to check out more about this author. Then I read Peter Pan by J.M. Barrie. This was one of the books that I, you know, had in my TBR video. And I did find out when I picked this up, I didn't realise, but it also has Peter Pan in Kensington Gardens. Now, I haven't read that in this, so I will pick that up at some point and it'll be a nice, quick, easy win. But I did read Peter Pan, which everyone knows the story. You know, he lives in Netherlands, he never wants to grow up. And he ends up going on these adventures with Wendy and her two brothers. He ends up taking them from their childhood bedroom and taking them to Netherlands, and it all sounds very creepy when you say it like that. And it's just about their adventures. In the end, I gave this 3 stars. There is some things in this I mentioned that I was like, wow, this is like a children's book, and like you did just mention that about the fairies coming home from like essentially an orgy. That is mentioned in here, guys, very briefly, but I was like, this is a children's book, so surprised. But yes, Peter Pan, you know, he isn't that great a character. Like, I feel like I've not watched a Disney film in years, and I need to go back and watch it, but I feel like in a Disney film, he's made to be like a better person than he actually is. As a character, he's not that great. And it might be just me misremembering things, or it might be that Disney does that thing where they sugarcoat things and make things much nicer. But yeah, he isn't that great a character, but I enjoyed it. I'm glad I read it. Like I said in my TBR video, I do have the Italian version there, and I'm really glad I read this one first. I find it super interesting reading these classics, children's classics of books, and these children's classics that I've seen the film, and actually things they changed quite a bit in them, and I understand why, because like I said, there's some things that are just not appropriate really for children, or they just make them much better than they are. So yeah, there's that. Glad I read it, and I will read the Peter Pan in Kensington Gardens to kind of find out what goes on with that. But yes, I like this, and I feel like we might have gotten a little bit more at the end than we do in the film. Just kind of like how Wendy and then her descendants, as the generations go on, there's always someone that ends up going and looking after Peter Pan, and I thought that was really nice, which I don't think that's fully mentioned in the film, but I could be again misremembered. Then I listened on audiobook The Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy by Douglas Adams, and this is a bit of a classic in terms of sci-fi. I think it was like in the 70s or something it came out, so modern classic kind of. If you don't know this about me, I'm not a sci-fi girl. When it comes to book, I am not a sci-fi girly when it comes to the books, but I do like watching sci-fi films, and I've always found it very weird about myself that when it comes to books, I don't like them. But this is the exception, guys. I actually liked a sci-fi book that I read. I liked it so much, I actually gave it 4 stars, and I will be continuing on with the series because I thought this was great. It was funny as well, that like, you know, funny element. It was a great audiobook. It was read by Stephen Fry, who did a fantastic job on the audio as well. That probably helped my rating as well. But in terms of synopsis on this one Thursday lunchtime, the Earth gets unexpectedly demolished to make way for a new hyperspace bypass. For Arthur Dent, who has only just had his house demolished that morning, this seems already to be more than he can cope with. Sadly, however, the weekend has only just begun, and the galaxy is a very strange and startling place. And then we just kind of go on this adventure that he has, this finding out what actually is going on in the universe. Like I said, there's funny moments, there's great adventure in this, and yeah, I'm going to continue on the series. I don't know how many books there are, but I will continue on. I think I'll continue on with the audiobooks because like I said, I really enjoyed it. Plus there was like noise about, there was a little bit of sound effects. Stephen Fry did a great job, loved it. Then on a whim from script, I picked up Crossroads by Laura Hightower, and I listened to this on audiobook. It was a really short one. I feel like it was like around like 3 hours, so it was a really nice quick one. This is horror, so very dark vibes, and I'm just going to take you through a little quick synopsis here, and then I'll give you my overall ratings and thoughts. So how far would you go to bring back someone you love? When Chris's son dies in a tragic car crash, her world is devastated. The walls of grief close in on Chris's life until one day a small cut on her finger changes everything. A drop of blood falls from Chris's hand on her son's roadside memorial, and later that night, Chris thinks she sees his ghost outside her window. Only it isn't really her son's ghost, or is it something else, something evil? Soon Chris is playing a dangerous game with forces beyond her control and a bit to see her son, Trey, alive once again. Now, like I said, picked this up on a whim, didn't have any expectations. I didn't really enjoy this one. I ended up giving him 4 stars. It does really tackle the topic of grief really well. Obviously, trigger warnings for that because that is obviously heavily dealt with in this book, so it does tackle that really well. The horror elements were really good, good descriptions, and you got those, you know, good vibes, and also the mystery behind the whole, is it him, is it not him, like what's going on, trying to work out. There is, I suppose, a little bit of body horror if that's not your thing, just to warn you as well. But I did enjoy it, seeing, you know, how Chris dealt with her grief and, you know, everything going around her, and also like how other people from the outside saw what was going on as well. All very vague because I don't want to like ruin this for you, but I did enjoy it and I gave it 4 stars. So if that is your kind of usual vibes, I do recommend this one, and it would be good for spooky season since, you know, it's October now. Then I read The Lying Life of Adults by Elena Ferrante. Yes, I did finally pick this up on a TBR that I put it on. It only took me like 3 or 4 times to do that, but I finally read it. So I really do like Elena Ferrante's writings. I have the Neapolitan Quartet series here, and I've also read The Lost Daughter by her as well. I really enjoy her writing. The Lost Daughter, I did enjoy it, but I didn't like it as much as the Neapolitan Quartet, and that's kind of the case for this as well. So with the Neapolitan Quartet, I just feel like you get so much out of it, and Story of a New Name, which is book 2, is the best by far, and I've heard other people say that as well. Like, that was her best writing. It was amazing. I really need to reread that series. But this, yes. And then I give it 3.5 stars, and yeah, I don't know what it is. Like, this is her best work, and this is still good. So if you don't know, this is her newest book that she has out. And if you don't know, Elena Ferrante is, no one knows who she actually is, what she looks like. She just releases books. I just love how, like, you know, her books speak for themselves. So this one is following Giovanna, and this is kind of her going through adolescence, you know, coming of age. So we're going to pick up where she's just coming into adolescence. So she, you know, lives with her parents. They live in like Naples of the Heights, it says in the back here. They live in like the fancier bit. They're well educated. They're making sure that she's well educated. They're surrounding themselves with people who are well educated. They very much have a circle of people that, you know, they want to stay with. Her father didn't come from that sort of background, and he has distanced himself from his family. His family, and specifically his sister Victoria, Giovanna's aunt, are from the depths of Naples. So, you know, from area that isn't good. They, you know, didn't go, the rest of his family didn't get educated at university. They just do normal jobs, and they're from like, you know, a rough area. So Giovanna ends up being torn between these two worlds. She doesn't meet her aunt until we meet her aunt with her in this, when she's around like early adolescence. And it's kind of her going through adolescence, building this relationship with her aunt, and then being torn between these two worlds and trying to figure out who she is, what life is about, and then also the adults. Like, this is the lying life of adults, but the impact of the adults on her life as well, and the things that they do and how she's kind of pulled into that. We do see her with other characters her age, a little bit older, and it's just her development through adolescence. I think Elena Ferrante does do a good job of writing through adolescence, and I did enjoy it, seeing the two sides of Naples. And there's quite a few characters. I feel like there could have been a little bit more like depth to this, not depth, but like more to the characters as well, more development. And I think the thing is with the My Brilliant Friend, the Neapolitan Quartet series, is there's 4 books over time that we really get to know those characters, and she really delves into them. We get everything. Whereas this is just a standalone, and definitely her best work is this. This is good. But I also noticed that that's what other people said as well, is that these standalones, one, I've not read all of them, they're her standalone books, but they're just not quite as good as Neapolitan Quartet, and I just feel like it's the amount of time that we get with those characters that she really gets a chance to develop them. But this was really good. I did enjoy it. And it was good to finally get this one read after saying I'm going to read it for so long, and it's been on my shelves for like over 2 years now. And it was another one of my 23 and 23, so, you know, we got some read this month, at least from that list, which I might still fail, but we'll see at the end of the year. And then the very last book that I read in the month was Match Me If You Can by Sandy Barker. I got the ARC for this. This is now out. It came out on the 28th of September, and I actually got an email from the publisher Basically, they gave it to me on NetGalley, being like, yeah, here you go, we thought you'd be interested in it. Otherwise, I might have completely missed this one because I'm trying not to request too many books, so I don't delve too deeply into NetGalley at the moment because I do have some hanging around that I need to clear. And I'm trying to get my 23 and 23 and things done. But this one came up, I'm like, this sounds fun. I'll tell you the synopsis in a moment. This sounds fun. Kind of need a break after reading, you know, a little more of the literary fiction, classics and stuff this month. And that's also why I didn't finish, you know, the other books on my TBR, because then I picked up one that I wasn't expecting to. But this is actually, I found out now, this is number 1 on what is going to be a series called The Ever After Agency. So The Ever After Agency is a matchmaking agency. It is a clandestine organisation offering bespoke solutions to romantic problems. Whatever you're looking for, whether you're looking for the love of your life, a fresh romantic start, or just want to keep up appearances, the agency can tailor a solution to meet your needs. When Tristan Fellows walks into the agency, Poppy Dean knows she's in for a challenge. A typical bachelor, Tristan has no intention of falling in love, but in order to receive his £30 million inheritance, he must find himself a wife before his 35th birthday. This may be Poppy's hardest case yet, but even the most arrogant of men can sometimes warm a woman's heart. So yeah, this is between Poppy and Tristan as our 2 main characters. This is romance, and I just love the journey they went on. I love this concept of this kind of like secret matchmaking agency. You kind of have to, somebody has to know you to introduce you into the agency for them to vet you and see if you're worth their time as a client. So it's all very like secret because they're trying to help people. And I just thought it was really good. I loved the development of our characters, the tension between the two. You get grumpy sunshine. This involves marriage of convenience, which was the first time that I read a book around marriage of convenience, and I loved it. So if you have any more recommendations for that trope, please let me know, because I very surprisingly liked this one. But yes, I love the journey, the development of characters. Tristan was grumpy, you know, we had this grumpy sunshine vibe going on. Loved it. Gave it 4 stars, highly recommend it. And it was such a nice surprise to, one, get this up here on my TBR out of nowhere, and also for, you know, having something a little bit light and fresh before getting into the darker month of October and like spooky vibe reading. So that was really great. So I'm really glad I got to read the arc for it. These are my own opinions, guys. If I've not stated that before, these are my own opinions, but I really enjoyed it. But overall, I thought I had a really good reading month. Let me know if you've read any of these or any of these are on your radar. Hit that like button, hit subscribe if you don't want to miss any more content from me. I will be posting weekly vlogs in October because it's spooky season and I'm taking part in 4 readathons, so come and watch that chaos. And I will hopefully see you in one of my next videos. Thank you so much and happy reading. Bye! Then I read I just hit myself in the face with the book on my lip. That hurt.